Hey Alex, Grant Putnam here. Monday morning. Just want to make sure I got this out to you this morning in regards to the quote for the landscape enhancement. So I'm looking at the quote here, and you're going to get a paper form of this. But the first part of the quote was fill in the sinkhole in the backyard. So this is a satellite image. That's this sinkhole back here. Okay. I put the dimensions on there. I put on about how much dirt you're going to need, as well as topsoil. Okay. If we're ending up doing another project on this list that we need to use our machine to do the project, then I'm going to discount you $150, which is listed in here as well, because the machine will already be in the property. Okay. The next thing is fixing a lawn along the street. So that's this area down here that your husband ripped out the shrubs, but there's a bunch of roots. Those roots and larger stumps, the only way we're going to get those out is with an excavator. So we'd bring our excavator there, rip out all the stumps, and then what we would end up doing is hauling that and paying to get rid of it at a place that will take in that sort of natural debris. So there's a hauling charge, and then we're going to need to bring some topsoil and some seed. Okay. We're going to have to look at the irrigation and make sure that the irrigation is working properly in that area. That might be something that is unforeseen that might have to be fixed. I noticed that there were heads, rotary heads in that area that are supposed to be watering the lawn. So hopefully those are working properly. So that's a wait and see sort of item. So again, each kind of category has also their own subtotal, you'll notice on the quote. So something else to pay attention to. Okay. For the front foundation, transplanting, and the new plants that you'd be adding, I tried to itemize that as much as I could. But the only way to really get a nice product is put together a CAD drawing. So a CAD drawing is something like this, where you have the house, and it's color coded, and all the plants are labeled. Okay. So what I did was I said, look, if you decide that you want to go ahead and move forward with this portion of the project, kind of having a sense of what the cost would be, then I'll give you a reduced price for doing that service. So usually we would end up charging more money for that. But again, now that we're taking you on as a maintenance customer and potentially doing some of these other small projects, that was kind of my thought process on that. So I figured the front of the house, by the time you transplant everything, outside of the larger trees, and do all the work associated, then you're probably somewhere between called a $9,000 to $10,000 budget. Okay. And what I've done is I labeled everything in here so you can kind of see what's going on. So first thing we're going to do is remove a lot of the overgrown shrubs. We are going to have to get a stump grinding quote from the tree company. I gave you a tree company's phone number who's got a stump grinder, and I also gave you a company that focuses just on grinding stumps. And all those details as far as references with phone numbers are at the very bottom of this proposal. Okay. So then again, same thing, the debris that we pull out that we no longer want, those we have to dispose off the property. Transplanting, here's the list. This list also coordinates with the video that I'm going to send you on the email. So that's a separate video, but it kind of explains a lot of the plants that you currently already have in the property. Okay, so there's your transplanting list. So my time on the property, actually fine-tuning the exact location of the plants prior to planting and meeting with you to say, oh, okay, this is kind of what I'm thinking, and typically there's always a few changes that you make on site. That's the cost associated with that. Then we got fertilizer, mulch, let's see here, new plants. So what I did was I tried to make kind of a list of plants just to give you a sense of what the costs are associated with the kind of a total approximate budget. And of course this is going to change based on doing the design. With the design you could make it more simplified, you make it more complex. So again, you have kind of control over what your final budget is actually going to be. But the concept is is that potentially you've got the two hollies here on either side of your steps. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. Let's see here. Let me zoom in. There we go. Okay. So you've got the two existing hollies on either side of the steps. Those you might decide to leave or replace. Okay, probably based on budget. You've got the boxwoods along the back that I think should be relocated elsewhere on the property because they don't look very healthy. They've got insect issues. That's one of the things we're going to end up treating this spring. But those should be removed because they're too small. Take the hydrangeas that grow about 4.5 feet during the summer and push those up against the foundation of the house. And then my thought was to bring in dwarf boxwood that only grow about 30 inches tall at a maximum height along the front. So you have this very clean kind of look where you still have the benefit of having evergreen with the dwarf boxwood, but then you've got the taller hydrangeas right up against the foundation of the house. It's a nice look. We've done that on a lot of homes. All right. And then in this area, you've got the Andromeda, which are overgrown and leggy. So there's two of those. Again, those get transplanted elsewhere. Potentially even back over here where it's shady, kind of behind the birch tree. Then you're going to end up putting some taller plants that max out around 4 to 4.5 feet tall along the foundation of the house over here, and then some shorter plants along the front. So you'll notice within the quote, I have a list of some taller 10-gallon plants and then some 3 to 5-gallon plants along the front. Okay. Then over here again, you're going to need more perennials, perhaps more shrubs underneath the dogwood tree, and then same thing in here. I think you mentioned that you didn't like the spirea, so this whole bed gets redone in here as well. Okay, and then obviously the bed over here, like I said, under the birch tree, that all gets redone. Okay, so that's kind of the scope of the work. So as we go kind of down through here, the next section is the trees planted along the street, and I gave you 3 different options. So those would be the ones behind the stone wall. If you're standing on the street looking at the house, you'd be behind the stone wall. Okay, and I gave you 3 options. I'll send you pictures as well so you can look at those and see what those look like. Irrigation system installation, so that's a future project. You'll notice that shows a 0 total balance. I have a 0 quantity, but it's an optional future project, and it lists what that entails. So I gave you, it tells you about approximately how many heads, how many missed heads, and whatnot. And then other future items that you might be interested in are the rear lawn renovation, which I think you should do, end of August. All right. Plant design within the fenced-in pool area and along the back foundation of the house. And a lot of people also love doing low-voltage landscape lighting. All right. And these are the contacts, like I mentioned, on the bottom of the page. So that's it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.